Guys, welcome back. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to the show. I'm joined in studio with George Staines, the IMMAF European Lightweight Champ and the Octagon MMA Challenge Champion. George, how are you feeling? How are you doing?
Yeah, mate, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Not bad myself. Um, Look, just how have things been in general since your last appearance at Octagon?
Things have training wise, things have been really good. Obviously down at Next Gen now, full of the gym's full of killers. You know what I mean? Everyone put on a great performance last week. Molly and Nathan are literally fighting tomorrow. Um, so the gym's been buzzing really. Like myself, training's been class. Just a bit frustrating at the moment because obviously I've been trying to get matched for a while now. And literally after my last fight, I wanted to fight in December on that December 7th card. Just so obviously I don't want to cut over Christmas.
Yes.
Because Shem was supposed to fight on that December 29th. I was just like, yeah, nah, don't really want to fight. 4 days after Christmas, you know what I mean? Just not, especially when you're with your family as well. It spoils it for them as well, do you know? So just frustrating really because I've literally been trying to get a fight since pretty much straight after my last fight because I had no cut, no injury. I was ready to go again. So quite frustrating in that part, but other than that, all good.
I have heard that for some reason, potential opponents keep avoiding you. Now, again, does that stem back to the kind of, fight you on, the kind of fight record that that you have? Because there is virtually not a single blemish on your record. Again, like I said to you before we started, you literally walked through every opponent they placed in front of you. I mean, not just in Octagon, but even outside. I mean,
Mm.
look at your amateur records, you know?
Yeah. Um, I'm assuming so, and I'm assuming that not a lot of people want to lose to someone who's 3-0. You know, like now, 3-0. He says I'm 5-0 Tapology. You know, with them two um exhibition bouts that were on the actual TV show again. While they're still five, obviously it says 5-0 Tapology, so I'm going to take it as that. But again, it's up for debate. Um, I think it is the fact that I've run through people and there's not much as of now there's not been seen much weakness in my game. Like I said, I had a dodgy third round in the fight last April, but again, that's in my opinion, the only blemish that you can actually see me that I fight. Like the 2 rounds before were both 10-8s. Do you know, I absolutely smashed him in every round before it. Um, I think it is that, and the fact people want to protect the records because I think if you lose to me, it's just if you're gonna fight me, you just know you're gonna have a bad night as well. Do you know, there's no easy win when you fight me. You're gonna get as soon there's gonna be damage done. I'm not like a lame pro. I don't just take people down and stay on top. I'm actively looking to do damage. I'm not just holding. I'm trying to hit you and punch you. Try and get the sub. I ain't been successful in the last two fights, but I've still done a lot of damage when I've gotten the takedowns.
It's a good thing that at your end you're ready to step into the cage. You're ready to put your name down on the paper and sign on the dotted line. You're ready to fight. Um, but at the other end, they're concerned about their record. But I have also, it's not, people also know, fight fans also know that for a fighter, it isn't always really good to be dormant, to be idle. You always want to stay active.
Yeah,
Don't the potential opponents who have been avoiding you, don't they also consider that as well?
I'm not sure because the one of the opponents that turned me down, I'll out him now. He's who was the lad who Dennis Frimpong just fought. Do you know that Robin Frank?
Yes, from Germany.
Yeah, he turned me down and and then he still got the match down, thinking, nah, tough fight. I took a fight with Dennis thinking it'd be easier, and he got beat. So it's karma, and I just don't. It is because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't be dodging people saying to protect your record. Oh yeah, I won't fight him and then fight someone who you consider an easier fight, and then you can't, and then you get beat by him. That's that serves you right for dodging fights. You should never be looking for easy fights. You should want challenges after challenge after challenge. You're never gonna get no better. And if you're looking to get to the pinnacle of the sport, which we all the majority, and when I say the majority, I mean like 99% of people consider UFC to be the top level. If you want to get there, that's you got to push yourself.
You know, you're right. It is. I guess they still hold that crown. They still hold that position when it comes to combat sports. I mean, people, they know the branding so well all around the world that they think that the sport is called UFC, not mixed
Yeah,
martial
literally,
arts. You know, that's how
literally,
well it's known.
the amount of people like you know like fit for such a long, even like when I was like you know younger in the sport, they say, "Oh, do you do UFC? You do it." It's just like you never. You're just like, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah," like because like there's no point explaining to them what MMA is because that's what they consider to be MMA.
Mm, yeah. But the point I was making is that as time has gone on, I have noticed that I think other people probably would agree with me, they might disagree with me, but the UFC doesn't always host the best events. Sometimes you do sometimes see that other promoters, even outside the UFC, PFL, Octagon, Cage Warriors, even the FCC over here in the UK, that even they do sometimes a lot. In fact, a lot of times rather, their card is really stacked. When you watch the fights, it's really, really entertaining. Whereas with the UFC, it seems to be that they just seem to capitalize off the hype in the run up to the fight.
Yeah, I'd agree to a point, but like you look at like FCC in the UK, Cage Warriors, they've got a much smaller roster than the UFC has. Do you know what I mean? Like the UFC's roster is huge, where they've got the like the I think they're obliged to give every fighter 3 fights a year. Like if you look at how many fighters they've got, because they've got a lot of fighters in each category. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like you look at like maybe like again FCC, especially regionally, they've only got a handful of like you know promotable guys. Same with Octagon. Do you know what I mean? They haven't got the biggest roster. You'll see a lot of the same faces being promoted, whereas UFC, there's like they've got so many people that they need to make fight. And again, some cards maybe a bit more lackluster, but I like every like pay per view event, in my opinion, is pretty sick. Like you go just off the one on the weekend, obviously it wasn't super exciting with the main event, Pereira and Ankalaev, but you know it's a world class level fight. You know what I mean? They both fought their fights. Then you get Gaethje, Fiziev, whatever his name is. You know, a great fight. You know, it should have been Dan Hooker, but again, you look at all the pay per view cards. I think they're still really, really good.
My next question I was going to ask you is almost like a standard question that when I was speaking to all the fighters on the show. Um, can you go into just briefly your backstory, your background, because the first one me speaking to you, and can you, also just your success in the sport? I mean, what do you put it down to, or who do you put it down to? Who do you owe it to? What do you owe it to,
Um, so I'll go to like work like how it all started. So obviously I'm from Hull.
Yeah.
Um, so obviously as a kid, especially like growing up in England, what like most kids play football, yeah. Um, obviously supporting football, I supported Hull City. Very proud of that. I support them. You know, you should, in my opinion, you should support like your home team. But my dad, obviously, I'd always go with my dad. My dad's a huge football fan, Hull City fan, and my first coach obviously wasn't my coach at the time, but he'd sit right next to us, and he said to me, "Dad, just like start bringing him to the gym because he owned a gym in Hull called Fight Ministry Hull." So when I was about 7 years old, I started to go. Started kickboxing, you know, with the fancy pants stuff, where all the way like the silk pants and the boots. It's a load of shit, really. But I can't think it got me into the sport. And then when I was then I started doing K1, um, which I enjoyed a lot more than the actual box. You could like leg kick, you know, it was a lot more accurate to actual real fighting. And then when I was about 15, 16, I started to do jujitsu. And I was like, yeah, I want to do MMA. This is like just doing kickboxing and boxing was just boring. Whereas when you combine it all, um, that's when I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And then since when I was about 16, I was like, yeah, going to start doing MMA. And then literally, like I say, there's so many different things in between. But again, 16 was when I decided to be like, I'll do MMA. I always wanted to be, like I say, it's what, like my success in that since being like a kid, I always wanted to be a world champion boxer. Um, so like I've always had that like ambition and that drive to be great. So I think it's just embedded to me. And my dad's a massive like factor of who I am. And he always said you can do whatever you want, but like set your heart on, set your mind to. And so like if I in my opinion, if I set my mind to something, I can genuinely do it. So like if I want to like I will be the UFC world champion. I believe I will be the UFC world champion. Um I think it's like again, you're products of your surroundings, aren't you? I've always had a lot of good. Like again, my dad's always been a massive help to me, and I've always tried to surround myself with the people who are like going to push me to be the best self. Hence the move down to next gen. Surrounding myself with absolute killers, making me better. I can't relax. Do you know what I mean? If I relax for 1 week, I'm going to be a week behind everyone else. And in my opinion, I don't think many people in the world are on the same level as what we are. Like you'll get so many people coming down to the gym where you're like, oh my god, you know, like he's good, and you'll have like close rounds with them. It's just like, oh, clearly we're operating at such a high, you know, like such a high level. And I've always just wanted to be the best. Literally, I've just wanted to be the best. And when I'm in the ring, I just cage. Sorry, I just genuinely don't think there is anyone that can beat me.
That's a good, powerful mindset to
Yeah,
have for mixed martial arts.
yeah, definitely.
Uh, Next gen Liverpool. This gym, I mean, they're producing phenomenal fighters like yourself, Shamrock BJJ, Paddy Pimblett, Molly. God, I've forgotten her surname
McCann.
now. McCann. A
Yeah.
lot of big names. I mean, since training, Dan, this is okay, a bit off topic, probably a bit
No, 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 no.
random, but
Honestly,
I was gonna ask you, can you tell me a bit about, just some of the coaches there, from your speaking to you specifically from your perspective, and also any funny gym stories that you can
um,
remember at all?
it's mainly just me getting taking the piss out of in the gym usually.
Really?
So like the other day, yeah, a couple of the lads. So like obviously like there's a massive like kids program at the
Yeah,
gym, and I think one of them's left some Lego in the gym. Obviously me being like a massive Lego lover,
yeah.
one of the lads have put some Lego in me gloves as obviously as a piss take. Um, Obviously it's just funny. It's just stupid stuff like that. Really, it's just like normal like banter stuff. There's like not particularly like any like standout moments. It's just like most like every day everyone's laughing. Do you know what I mean?
No, no, I do.
Um,
You
it's
that
just it's always funny. Yeah, the banter's good.
if say a novice, a proper novice going into the sport, maybe they don't want to compete, but they do want to just as a hobby because I do find that if you're going on the pads or doing any kind of combat sports just as for training, it can be very therapeutic.
No, it
Um,
is. Yeah.
um, that kind of banter and joking, is it something you're just gonna have to get used to? Because I've seen that for some guys, fighters, they can be quite extreme in their jokes and pranking stuff like that.
So like obviously like I've like you can like so when I first joined the gym like the no one was like the banter wasn't like that like heavy towards me.
Mm,
And as I've got like more embedded in the gym, that's when it starts to become a bit like, you get involved a bit more. So
yeah,
like when you're like say you're just like a hobbyist, let's say, you're not like no one's like taking the piss out of you or anything. It's like like the main people gets like the banter and that's the people on the fight team.
mm,
So like it's not that like again, I think that like again, next gen's a really good example of like a non-toxic environment. Like it's not very like than that. Like obviously the pro morning classes in the morning, they're only for fighters. So like your amateurs and your pros. Um, so like again, you know who's a fighter and like we see each other every day, so we know who each other are. Whereas the night classes are a bit more, like light-hearted, where like again the banter isn't as heavy because we're not that familiar with each other as some people, as we might be in the fight team. So again, it's not like it's not a toxic because again, a lot of people have the um what's the word perception that MMA gyms are quite a like toxic masculinity. You know, like we always walk around with our tops off, and that's just not true about most MMA gyms. You know, let alone like next gen, it's really not that way. Honestly, we train hard. You know, we're not messing about. But afterwards, and that, you know, it's light-hearted. You need to find you need to find the right balance between working hard and playing hard type thing. And like again, the coaches, in my opinion, are like obviously I've traveled the country quite a lot, up and down, like especially around Yorkshire. And I think these are some of the best coach. Like there's a reason why I've come. They are the best coaches in my opinion that I've ever trained with, and they are the best coaches in the world. Like you got Rimmer of Paul, head coach, such a great mind for MMA. Then you got Ellis and Venn again, just phenomenal coaches.
Um, Look, with your success in this sport, even as an amateur and continuing into your professional side of your career, what advice would you give to any younger upcoming talents?
Um, a couple of things really. Just obviously work hard, get in the gym and work hard, and just come in the gym and listen. Don't think you know best. Because I feel like a lot of people come to the coach and be like, yeah, but what about this? What about that? It's just like, no, just listen to your coaches. You don't know best. Just listen to them. I think that's one of the best advices you can get given. So like when I was younger, I was a bit maybe pig-headed and maybe didn't listen. Maybe did things the hard way instead of the easier way. Especially around nutrition and cutting weight. Um, so again, listen to the people around you who know what they're on about. They're trying to give you advice not to try and prove you wrong, but to help better you,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
A lot of people walk in there with a massive ego.
Yeah, yeah. Just listen. And even if they're like maybe even if you're like better than someone but they're really good at something and you're not as good as, listen to them. Don't just think, oh, I'm better than them. They don't know as much as me. Like listen to people. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. Yeah, no, you're definitely right.
Everyone has something valuable to say, all like in every aspect of life, and I think that's really valuable too, especially in MMA fight. Just to like, it might not even be like something like that has a direct effect with MMA, but it might have to do something with your, outside life in general. Like just living as a person.
If you hadn't become a mixed martial arts fighter or at least a combat sports athlete, what else would you have turned your hand to?
I always say because my dad's a huge runner. He loves his running. I'd say I was maybe didn't being a long distance runner.
Oh,
Like try to like actively compete in it. So like when I'm in COVID, I got some really good times in like runs without like just actually training, just going for runs. So I reckon like I don't think I would have been like I'd have tried my best, but I don't know like obviously because I've done MMA so long, my body's like adapted to this, of the sport. Um, I don't know how well I would have been in the run, but I think I would. I'm positive I'd have made the GB team, like 100%. Um, maybe like a gamer, maybe a Lego builder. I don't know. I've never really thought about any like from being a kid. I've always wanted to be a fighter. So as soon as I found like kickboxing, boxing, MMA, I always wanted to be a world champion in martial arts. Um, so I've never really given it much thought other than I'd maybe be a runner. That's the literally only ever thought I've given it.
when are we gonna see you? I mean, maybe I'm jumping the gun here a little bit, but
No, no, no.
when are we gonna see you in the UFC? I mean, I'm sure you're happy at Octagon MMA,
No,
and I
yeah.
can see that those guys do a good job of promoting of the British and Irish talent that I
Yeah.
do follow. But I mean, at some point, is it that you want to eventually be wearing the belts of the division of the weight division that you're in at Octagon MMA, or is it that at some point, once you've exhausted your contract, you do want to test the free market, try other promotions? Because you already, I think, on the UK scene, you do have some name power with the kind of fight record you have.
Yeah, obviously Octagon have been really good. Obviously, at the moment, struggling to get a fight. So maybe afterwards, maybe like play the field a little bit, see what happens. You know, like you said, the UK. I am quite well known in the UK scene. You know, especially like again from coming from that big amateur background. Ideally want to be in the UFC. You know, by 26. I'm 24 now, 25 this year. So maybe like 2 years. Obviously, that's the goal. But if it comes sooner, then it comes sooner. Like I'm not going to say no. Do you know what I mean? It's especially nowadays, it seems a lot harder to get in the UFC. So if they come to you, I think it's quite hard to turn them down now, especially nowadays.
I I love that, but what I don't like, the side that I don't like, of that, I guess it does have a part in contributing towards the fighters being more well known, getting fights and more eyes on their fights themselves, is that they will also look at how popular you are in terms of social
Yeah,
media.
I agree.
I,
I
they,
hate it.
I
I
believe they
don't
should
think it
look
should
at
be a factor. I
they. Sh
just don't think. Yeah, sorry, I'm interrupting.
Let me quickly say, I believe they should look at your fighting ability, your talent first,
Mm, yeah,
before anything else.
I completely agree. I don't think should whether you get in the UFC or not should be based off whether you're popular, whether you're this or that. It should be based off your skill and your talent, and how good of a fighter you are, and how good of a fighter you can be. Like again, if you're showing massive improvements in between fights, I think that's again another signal that you're ready, to be in the UFC. Again, you get some, like where like again, this is where I really like Leon. Leon got his title shot from being just beating everyone. And same with Khabib, really. Like Khabib, until he fought McGregor, wasn't that popular.
Yeah.
Khabib got popular off the back tails of McGregor. And again, he earned his title. She just dominated everyone in the division. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, Khabib didn't have," if you look at his opponent's combined record, it's not great. Yeah, but when you look at the people who he did fight, like Gaethje, Poirier, all these great, like McGregor, he did smash them all. Like it wasn't like they weren't close fights. Do you know what I mean? So I'm a massive believer of fighting shouldn't be how many followers you have on Instagram, how many likes you get per post. It should be, are you a good fighter? Yes or no. It's one of the downsides of social media, and I fully accept the fact you've got to post and advertise yourself. It's like you're the movie, you've got to make the posters, make the trailers and all that, which I completely understand. But it's just I'm not a fan of it. Do you know what I mean? Like Don Fry says, we're fighters.
Um, for you, well, before I get to this next question, not too long ago, I think a few days ago, you did post that I think you said that a fight is in the works in the pipeline. Any news on a date set and the opponent being booked?
So we're looking like hopefully I'm looking to get on that same card as Shem.
Ah.
There's been talks, I think, but obviously no contract yet. So until that I've been sent that contract or anything's been signed, I'm not going to stay too much. I don't want to jinx it because I've been quite unsuccessful. Tried to get an opponent for the 8th of March. I got denied. I got apparently. So as far as I know of, I got 3 names that turned me down, and apparently there was more people that turned me down. So I'm reckoning it was about 5 or 6 people that turned me down for that 8th of March card. Um, so it's just been a nightmare.
And what the question itself, what not the question I was going to get to,
Yeah.
who would be your dream opponent and at what venue?
So I'd love, like, for me personally, I'd love to fight Max Holloway. Just I've always said that he's a sick fighter, and I would like to see if I could take him down in that. And even like obviously he's a well better striker than me, but even to try a little bit. Charles would be a great fight as well, or Oliveira. That'd be quality. Just fun fights, aren't they? And fun puzzles to solve. Venue. Me personally, it's always been my dream to fight at the Madison Square Gardens, where like your greats have fought, your Matt Ali's, Mike Tyson's, McGregor Do you know what I mean? All the big
Yeah,
names of combat
yes, yeah.
sports have fought there. It's a legendary arena. Um, Obviously, I would like to fight like in England, like main event in England would be one of the best ones. You know, Hull would be amazing because it's my home city, but there's no arenas in Hull apart from the actual football stadium, which I doubt the UFC would ever do. So I'm just going to go Madison Square Gardens or maybe like the O2 in London, like an actual pay per view card instead of a fight night.
I was asked by a follower on Instagram,
Mm.
um, what did you make of Dennis Frimpong's most recent bout at Octagon MMA?
I thought he looked good. To be fair, like again, that kid was 5-0, supposed to be a prospect, tear me down. So I was rooting for Dennis. Obviously I know Dennis anyway. It makes me look better if he wins. Do you know what I mean? And again, he came up on top. Like he's got a 10-8 in one round as well, didn't he? So he absolutely smashed the kid. The kid looked terrible, and in my head, I was just like, if that kid had fought me, I'd have killed him. Like that kid can say all he wants. I'd have absolutely annihilated him. Would have been a massacre.
Last but by no means least, I was getting tongue twisted here.
That's all
A-
good.
Any shout outs you want to give family, friends, your coaches, your gym, sponsors?
Just everyone, obviously, everyone backing all. Everyone really supports me. We support our own in all. You know, not much good comes out of us. So when something does come, um, yeah, you know that we get behind each other. All my coaches at Next Gen again, all my teammates, everyone who's ever sponsored me, everyone who's ever supported me, just everyone really. There's too many people to say. There really
Mhm.
is. It's been a long journey, and a lot of people have helped push me to where I am now. So again, it's too many people to list.
Please keep doing what you're doing. You've done remarkably well. You've done
Thank
so
you.
well. You're still only what 24 years old. You're still very,
Yeah,
very young. So
24,
a lot of fights ahead
25
of you.
September. Yeah, I want to be. I'll probably be fighting until I'm like 20. I'm 20, 30, 34, 35. I've took minimal damage. I've been fighting 7 years now. You know, don't think I've got brain damage. um,
No, no, no.
but let's hope not. But I'll be fighting for a long time.
George, thank you so much for coming on the show. And no, I look forward to seeing you and hearing about your next opponent, next fight. Look forward to seeing you step into the octagon again. And yeah, please, if you can, send me the list of all the people. If you remember them, so I can tag them in the description for the
Yes,
post
thank you. I will do.
for the episode.
Thank you
Guys,
so much.
Guys, thank you for watching or listening. Please don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button if you're watching this on YouTube. You also can catch the audio versions on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Podcasts. George, once again, thank you so much for coming on.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Take care.
You too, pal. Thank you.